August 2013, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer after going to numerous doctors for well over a year, trying to figure out these symptoms that I had. And the symptoms were gurgling in my stomach, burning in my stomach, distension in my stomach. There was a change in my bowel habit, and just overall fatigue. When I went to my primary care physician, they automatically thought it was a GI problem. And so they did all the GI tests, thinking perhaps I had ulcer or maybe acid reflux, or in fact I had traveled out of the country and perhaps it was parasites. So they did all those tests. The tests came back negative, said that I should maybe go home, take antacid, and that could relieve it. And then after that, I was still having some discomfort, went to my GYN, explained to my GYN that I was having some pain during intercourse, and that there were some other symptoms that I was concerned about. And the GYN, I had my yearly GYN, including my pap smear. All tests came back fine. And then I ended up 2 years later, which was August 2013, in the emergency room because my stomach was so distended I looked as if I were at least 6 months pregnant. And at that time I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. When I was diagnosed, I was completely shocked. I thought that perhaps I had a bad stomach virus or something along those lines, but never cancer. I went through the whole range of emotions, I guess, that people would expect. As I said, shock, disbelief, terror. When you think about your mortality, when you hear the word cancer, automatically you think that you are going to die from this disease. Then you go to, I'm going to be in excruciating pain. Then you go to my family, and all those different emotions. When I was diagnosed, though, I was uninsured, and I was in Dallas, Texas at the time. And I was never afforded to see a GYN in the hospital, nor was I afforded to see an oncologist. So I was diagnosed, and the next day released. But I was given a referral and said that I should go to a doctor on that Wednesday after I was diagnosed on the Saturday, and the doctor would be able to give me more information. When I went to the doctor on the Wednesday, I was told that I could not be seen. The doctor found out that I was uninsured. We told the doctor we were paying out of pocket for this, explained to him the circumstances, that I was just diagnosed on the Saturday, needed answers, was very anxious, and was coming to him for help. And he said that he would not treat me, even though we were paying out of pocket, because I was a liability. And I would not be able to afford the care that he was going to give to me, and he refused to treat me. And then it was at that point that my family and I decided I should come back to New York for treatment. So then I came back to New York a few short weeks after that and began treatment here. When I came to New York was when I found out that I was the most advanced stage of having ovarian cancer, and that it obviously had been in my body for quite some time because it had spread to a number of places within my body, and so I wasn't able to have surgery. So I needed to do chemotherapy at first. I did 3 rounds of chemotherapy. My body responded very well to that, luckily. Shrunk a lot of the tumors in it, stopped the spread, and then I had an extensive surgery that they call debulking. And debulking is a hysterectomy plus removal of some other organs that the doctors know that ovarian cancer likes to live in. Then I had to return to chemotherapy after that. And then luckily in February 2014, I was diagnosed as cancer-free. I had gone into remission. And again, the range of emotions, elation, thankful, grateful, shock, disbelief, just feeling as though I had another lease on life. And it was at that point that I knew that I needed to do something in terms of advocating. Because during my journey, many women of color would say to me, well, black women don't get ovarian cancer. And I'm like, well, that's obviously incorrect because I'm an African-American woman and I have been diagnosed. Coupled with that, I was looking for a group that I could speak to. I was not able to find a group, but I was of African American women because that was my first preference. But I did find an organization by the name of SHARE, and I was referred to them from the American Cancer Society. And what SHARE provided me, none of the other groups were able to do. They buddied me up with a woman who had my same exact surgery and my same exact diagnosis. And so I was able to speak to somebody who had walked my walk, who had had the chemo, who had had the surgery, and who had dealt with the emotions that I did as well. And that was so meaningful to me. And it helped relieve some of my anxiousness prior to my surgery. And this particular woman, she continued to follow up with me post-surgery, right after surgery, weeks after, months after. And we developed a kinship. And I developed a special bond, I would say, with her in addition to the organization SHARE. And I wanted to find out how I could help another woman, as well as be a mouthpiece, especially for underserved communities, since I felt that I had been discriminated against because I did not have health insurance. And might I add, for the first time in my life since I've been a working adult, in addition to not getting the proper care by doctors in Dallas, and just all of the different steps that I had to go through being uninsured. In addition to what I feel, when you are in an underserved community, that the health care that we get can sometimes be very different from those in a different area code. Sorry, I shouldn't say area code, in a different zip code. And I knew I wanted to do something to be a mouthpiece. And SHARE offered that. They have an ambassador program primarily for African American and Latino women, where you go out and you tell your story and you give information for women to arm them with the tools necessary so that they can advocate for themselves and that they understand how breast and ovarian cancer works, in addition to that there's a support out there for them.
How were you able to receive the care that you got in New York as opposed to Dallas?
From my understanding, New York is a very liberal state, and we're a very social service-oriented state. When I checked into the hospital, there was actually a dilemma. The New York Presbyterian, where I'm getting treatment, is a private hospital, and they did not have to keep me. They had to make a decision to keep me because they were going to send me to a city hospital. And my family and I always feel like it was divine intervention that they kept me. So once they kept me, they do have something called charity monies. And based from the charity monies, it was able to pay for a portion of my stay. And then after that, they applied for me for Medicaid. And then I was able to get Medicaid. And that's when my health insurance kicked in from that point in.
Wonderful. When you say your health insurance kicked in, what was the insurance before?
I didn't have insurance before. I was uninsured at the time of being diagnosed.
You mean the Obama?
No. Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, it really didn't, the bill didn't kick in until much later. That was August 2013, and it was still in its formation. I really didn't become a law or enacted or something along those lines until months later. So it was not the Affordable Care Act. It was just monies that the hospital had that they were able to offer cases such as myself. And then they applied to New York State for Medicaid for me.
Wonderful. What advice would you give to other women in your situation, when you were in that situation at the time, not having insurance, or what advice would you give?
The advice that I would give is you have got to have a strong foundation. When you hear a diagnosis such as cancer, you, what I would assume, lose yourself. You lose your faculties, and if you don't have a safety net, I believe that it's a lot harder for you to grasp and understand and make sound decisions for yourself. So that's first. Get somebody in your corner who can go to the doctor visits with you, who can help advocate, who can make the calls, bring the information back to you and help you sift through it. That's first and foremost. After that, once you do find a medical doctor and a medical team, develop a relationship with them. You have got to be your biggest, boldest, and baddest advocate. You help drive your care. The doctor's actually here to serve us. And I know that a lot of times it feels skewed, and we feel that the doctors know best and the doctors drive our care. And they do to a certain extent because they are the expert with whatever your disease is. I told my doctors, you're the expert with cancer, but I'm the expert with me. And you need to be able to listen to my concerns, and we need to come up with care that works well and sits well with who I am, as well as what you feel is best for me. So you need to be able to have open dialogue and trust with your doctors. Also, I would say do research when you're strong enough, and for as much as you can possibly take, a little chunks at a time, so that you understand what you're working with in terms of with your body. And that way you're able to have a more informed decision and conversations with your doctors. Also, eat well. Obviously, I got cancer even though I consider myself a healthy person, and I think my medical team considers me healthy as well. I wasn't able to ward off cancer, but my body fought. I was able to fight and bounce back, I think because of the way that I treated my body for a number of years. So even in the midst of you having this health journey with cancer, it is very important that you treat your body right and feed it what it needs so that it's able to fight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. What types of things that you're doing now to advocate for ovarian cancer awareness, like the interviews that you've been on? What outreach have you been involved in?
This health journey, it's been so incredible. I couldn't have imagined this on August 13th. On August 17th, 2013. I could not have imagined where my health journey has taken me. For all of the discomfort that it has caused on one level, on the other level, all of the gifts that it has provided and the healing that it has provided on the other level is astounding. So through my partnership with Share, I was afforded a number of opportunities. So again, first of all, going out as an ambassador into underserved communities and talking to women. I like to go in non-conventional places that I feel people feel that those lives may be disposable. I go into shelters. I talk to women in the shelters about ovarian cancer. I go to daycare. I go to dance classes. I go to beauty parlors. I go anywhere I feel that there is a congregate group of women and that they're open to hearing about ovarian cancer and the signs and symptoms. And again, through Share, I was able to go to Capitol Hill in the summer in DC, and I was able to advocate to our senator around ovarian cancer education, awareness, and funding. And this summer I was able to be a mouthpiece at City Hall here in New York to uphold the bill that September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And I got to testify in front of the Health Committee and a City Council here in New York for that. And most recently I was interviewed by Pat Battle, NBC correspondent, and she came out and interviewed several of us highlighting Share, and felt that my story of survivorship and ovarian cancer was a very compelling one, and soon she'll be doing a story on me and my health journey with ovarian cancer. In addition to that, I also vowed to do a cancerversary every year. So on the day that I was diagnosed, which was again August 17, 2013, I do an event at a local restaurant, and I invite as many as I can, and we center around wellness for and advocacy and information for ovarian cancer. And then we also combined, fun, giveaways, facts. Cancer is not sexy, right? It's not sexy, but it's necessary. And I need to give women...
It's a necessary conversation.
It's a necessary conversation to have, yes. And I need to give women who sit in front of the doctor the language that I did not have, to say, listen, these are my symptoms. Rule out ovarian cancer. Nobody wants to say, I think that I have cancer, but you can say that I have these symptoms. and that I would like 2 tests to rule it out. Now, unlike cervical cancer, where pap smears show clearly, there is no foolproof screening for ovarian cancer, but there are 2 tests that can make doctors aware of some elevated levels in your body, and then they would do further testing. So I tell women they're the CA-125 blood test, and the second is an intravaginal ultrasound where they can clearly see your ovaries. And women should ask for that to be a part of their yearly GYN examinations, because they are usually not a part of it unless you have had a history in your family of breast or ovarian cancer.
What are the symptoms?
So the symptoms can be bloating, change in bowel, burning in your stomach. Some people have a feeling in their esophagus as if something is stuck in their esophagus. I have spoken to women who had a cough for months, and then it turned out to be ovarian cancer. Could be discharge, could be painful intercourse. It's a range of things. But what we tell women is if these symptoms happen for 3 weeks or more consistently with no ease up, with medicine, with Tylenol, with perhaps taking an enema or something along those lines, you need to go to your doctor, because a lot of these symptoms can mimic us having our menses. Women get bloated during their menses. Women have an upset stomach during their menses. There may be a change in bowel during our bowel habits during our menses. So the ovarian cancer symptoms are so cryptic, and they mimic a lot of other things, which is one of the reasons why it makes it so very, very hard to catch. And it is the #1 gynecological killer within the cancers of women because it's so stealth-like.
Do you have any closing remarks or any words, any advice? In addition to any, words of thanks to the people who care for you and the institutions.
I would say, when your body tells you something, listen. When you feel misaligned, listen. Keep searching until you get the answers. If you need to go to 10 doctors, go to 10 doctors until that one doctor listens to you. I believe that our intuition always lets us know. And even though I went and tried to get help in terms of with the medical community, perhaps if I had gone to that one more doctor, perhaps that would have been the doctor at that particular time that would have said maybe test for this. So please listen to yourselves. Again, be your biggest, baddest, and boldest advocate, and cherish our health. Cherish those around us. As I said at the beginning of the interview, cancer, this cancer and this health journey has opened up so many doors for me that it wouldn't have opened up. It has healed and mended relationships. It has healed and mended broken fences within families. I've seen people work together who I hadn't seen work together in my life since this happened. My family now has a better understanding of ovarian cancer. There is not a woman in my family, I'm almost certain to say, or in my close proximity of friends, who does not have the language. I'm honored that people call me all the time. A friend of mine was diagnosed with cancer. It could be colon, it could have been breast. Lisa, please talk to her. Please help her. Please guide her. That I've been used for good. That even though, again, that this has not been the easiest of journeys, but the fact that I'm being used to help somebody else is one of the most humbling and beautiful gifts that I have been given through this. And thank yous, if I started with one thank you, we would be here till 2016 with all of the thank yous. There have been so many angels that have surfaced in my life, from strangers to family, and they're the reason why I'm here. they believed in me. They carried me through with their love and prayers and food and cards and jokes and phone calls and video cards, food, just encouragement. And I just am so honored that people found it in their hearts to care about me as much as they do and as much as they did. I can't single one person out. It's definitely been a collective. In addition to my medical team, New York Presbyterian Hospital has been absolutely wonderful. I was born in that hospital, by the way. And so when we went to the hospital and they said they were going to admit me, my mother turned and looked at me and said, "You came here to be reborn." And that has certainly been the case. And they're a wonderful institution. So,
Do you have a favorite motto?
favorite motto?
And then, we'll beat them.
Well, one of my personal mantras through this whole thing has been, "You can't take my mojo." You cannot take my mojo. I was adamant that my mojo was not going to be taken throughout this, and my mojo encompassed a lot of things. It encompassed my spirit, it encompassed my humor, it encompassed my sensuality, it encompassed my femininity. Because, just as if a woman had to get a mastectomy, when a woman has to have a hysterectomy, that can affect one's psyche in terms of self-image and what you're going to look like afterwards and how you're going to relate to the world, minus these parts that are so intimate to you, that give life, that identify you in the world as a female. And I then had to reassess how I was going to emerge once those parts of me were gone, but remain knowing that my spirit and my essence was still intact, even though parts weren't there. And so my mantra through this has been, "You can't take my mojo." Yes. Teal is the color for ovarian cancer awareness. And my shirt, as it reads, "Rebel with a Cause." So I have become a rebel with a cause, and my cause is spreading awareness for ovarian cancer to as many women as I come in contact with. I carry my cards with me wherever I go, and when I come across a group of women, I give them the symptoms cards. This is from Share. It tells about the symptoms, it gives our website, it gives our phone number and all the pertinent information, so that they have something handy. I tell them to hold it for themselves or give it to a woman that they love. I give it out to men, and I say, there's some woman in your life who you love, and she needs to be aware of ovarian cancer. Please give this to her, and hopefully they do. For Christmas, I made packets of 20 symptoms cards, and I gave them out to friends, and I asked friends if they would please incorporate them into their greeting cards and send them out for Christmas so that women can also be aware. And luckily, I had a great group of women who was able to do that. So no matter where I go, I feel that I'm ambassador. Not just when I do my formal presentations, but a lot of times when I go to the doctor and I get blood work done, they say, "How did you know?" And these are the phlebotomists. These are the nurses. They say, "How did you know that you had ovarian cancer?" And when I tell them the story, they're like, "That's why we're so scared, because there's no way to tell a lot of times." And so even I'm able to educate those in the medical community sometimes. So that's wonderful. If anybody needs more information about either the support groups that Share has, having an ambassador come out and speak to them, there's a 24-hour hotline. Not only do they speak English, but they have people who speak 12 other languages that you can call. The number for Share is 844-ASK-SHARE. Share's website is www.sharecancersupport.org.
That's perfect. That's beautiful. That's it.
Is that it?
We got to stay